Welcome to Ups and Downs, the podcast that takes you on a journey through dynamic worlds of entrepreneurship, leadership, and AI. My name is Ruslan Rusinov. Welcome to episode number 2 of Ups and Downs. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of hosting Pasi Vuorio, a dynamic individual with a passion for generative AI and a unique blend of skills in business-oriented product architecture. He is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Lastbot. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really exciting to be here.
Thank you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself briefly?
Yeah, let's say that I come from a startup background quite a lot. I have been working in the IT field and software for 26, 27 years already. And the half of that I have been working as an entrepreneur. So I was part of the sort of first initial startup boom of Finland, then in the 2010 and 2011. And the kind of since that I have been building several startups, both for myself and for other companies as well.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. A quick question. I saw that less than a year ago you were working at Woman.
Yeah.
Like stable job, corporate one.
Yeah.
How you ended up at a startup?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's say that 1.5 years ago, last year summer, I had no idea that I would be working for a startup again.
Okay.
So it was a kind of a surprise for myself as well. Let's say that like having worked for 25 years in IT and doing lots of stuff with the traditional software, and then finding out the ChatGPT came out on the December last year, and I was kind of really thrilled to see the capabilities of that one. So I had the really big urge to do something with it. I couldn't find any sort of resolution in other companies or my existing company back then. So I just thought that, only way I can do this is to start up something of my own.
Nice. We'll speak a bit more about Lastbot. I just want to ask first, when was like the first time when like you felt your entrepreneurial mindset, like starting something on your own?
Let's say that the first time was actually somewhere in year 2000. And I started like 97, and then my professional career. So I could say that it has been on my mind all throughout my career. Back then I was sort of thinking that these mobiles are coming, and we saw that Nokia is rising, and they have this new operating system called Epoch, which was later named as Symbian. So then I was thinking that, okay, with my friends, let's start a Symbian company or Epoch company at the times to develop something on mobiles. We didn't. Let's say that since that, there has been lots of ideas and lots of sort of thinking behind. And then finally 2009, I did the jump from the corporate to do something my own.
Okay, nice. And what challenges did you face in the early stages of your career? Like, let's put the question that way. In terms of like what difficulties were there?
Do you mean before startups?
Before startups, like during like beginning of your IT career, let's say around 97?
Let's say that of course back then a totally different world. I started like a second year student working for my first job, so I basically knew nothing about what this work really is in a professional settlement, and there was no internet back then, so I couldn't kind of read out anything what to expect. So I just jumped in at the times, and let's say that I have enjoyed throughout my career. Even though I have been working for this corporate world and everything else, I have felt always like a home in there. So my let's say professional choices, they have not been because I have felt something is not for me, but I have felt more like an urge to do something of my own.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. And yeah, I want to ask and to know more about Lastbot.
Yeah,
Do you mind sharing, like, starting from the beginning,
yeah.
how you ended up with the team that was this the original team? And
Yeah, let's say, like I said, the kind of the process started almost a year ago when the ChatGPT came out. I was already testing out the GPT-3 back then, so we didn't have ChatGPT or the 3.5 APIs available yet. So I was starting out with this GPT-3 API and doing a lots of exploration on, for example, sales and customer service and use cases like that one. But I think that quite soon I found out the kind of a current idea that I would like to utilize this one in a sales, because it had a lots of capabilities
yes,
that the current sort of, let's say, typical software, it doesn't have this kind of a intelligence to understand humans or their intents or something like that. So yeah, it was born out of those days. I was already doing some work with our early customers like Autolecom, doing the car sales demos already somewhere in December. But the idea was born then, and there's lots has happened between that day and
and
today.
now,
I found my co-founder Tero somewhere in spring. So I think we started talking somewhere in January and then ended up doing the company together in March and then setting up the company on April. So that's the kind of a history we have, and we started with a different idea, same technology but different idea, and
what was the original idea about? I'm curious about it.
let's say that it was about doing anyway like a process automation. But back then we thought that we can do every occupation there is in a world. So it was a quite ambitious thing. So we could sort of launch this kind of artificial employees. Like now we are talking about agents in an AI world. So we were thinking about agents that we can deploy easily in your own work processes. So like including them in the Slack and being able to give them tasks and so on. So that was the original idea, but then we had to kind of tune down because we sort of found out that there is quite too much in there, and especially talking with investors, they thought that we need to focus on something. So that's when we kind of picked this customer dialogue that we are doing now.
Okay. And what differentiates like Lastbot from other chatbot companies that are rising up and also like utilizing AI?
Let's say that the main difference in there is the sort of capability to learn from every conversation or every interaction we have with the clients. So we are not doing. Most of the chatbots, they are doing one thing, and so they are point solutions. They are able to discuss customer, whether they are in customer service or sales or somewhere else. But we want to do this whole customer journey and being able to do the learning both on the individual level. So we learn from the customer themselves at that what do they actually want. But we also do this sort of collective learning from the all conversations so that we learn how the business actually works. So we can always sort of optimize the way we are communicating and what we are communicating. So we can pick up a line that most probably will lead to a sale or whatever is the actual goal in there. So it's this learning capabilities, and we have developed our own sort of neural network on top of language models. So it's not purely language models. We have this our own learning, which actually optimizes the outcome of the discussions.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, who are like the target customers of Lastbot currently? Are you is there like any specific group or?
We haven't selected our focus that much yet. We know that our kind of a optimal customer is somebody who has a product that's complex enough. So which means that usually the customers require some sort of evaluation, thinking, comparison, and that kind of things before they make the purchase decisions. So it's mainly the, let's say, currently more expensive, more complex products, B2B, like cars, apartments, that kind of things that need more thinking. So that's where the Lastbot is at its best.
Okay. And what do you think about like closed source models versus open source models?
Let's say that we are agnostic in that one, in a sense that we have chosen the strategy that we will always utilize the best language model there is for the purpose. So currently it happens to be OpenAI, but we have been testing out also the open source language models like Llama 2 and those. And we expect that when these are kind of a common things, next year we will be utilizing the best one, like a GPT-4 or whatever that will be next year, for something like a more doing the decisions and that kind of things, but then utilizing the open source models for the actual conversations and doing the discussion with the clients. So that's our current thinking.
Okay. I was just going to ask like where next from here, like about potential plans for next year. Do you have anything on the roadmap that you don't mind sharing?
Let's say that of course the product is still evolving quite a lot every day and every week. We are releasing something new, and we are in a sense quite much learning from our clients. So we don't do that much like kind of a roadmap beforehand, but we do and sort of change our plans according to needs of our clients. So we are really agile. We are able to develop things fast, and also because of AI, we can do things quite much faster than before. So yeah, we don't know yet what else is coming, but now we are just utilizing our systems with our current clients, the pilot customers, or we are planning to launch our SaaS product during this year. So then we are able to take in sort of early customers in there, and at the same time, of course, working also with the bigger clients to sort of develop the technology and especially the use cases together. So there are so many things we could do, but we will listen to our customers there.
How many test pilots do you have currently?
There is a bit sort of 10, so like 7 or 8 pilot customers that we are currently doing.
I assume they're in different industries.
They are totally in different industries, so there's a lots of different companies.
All right. Thanks for sharing about it. And what are your thoughts? Like I read the few posts on LinkedIn about the open AI situation from Friday till Sunday.
This discussion, I have been following out, of course, the drama throughout the weekend, reporting whatever I can, or kind of make my conclusions from there. But the overall kind of thinking that it's really a soap opera. So I wouldn't think this kind of a drama or things happening at a company that's actually leading the whole industry and the transformation we are having. So it's really surprising that this kind of things could happen. And of course, it kind of for me, I have been really grateful that we haven't been fully dependent on the open AI. And even though I do expect that this is just a bump and they will come back in form or another, but still it's a good sign for the whole industry and all the companies utilizing that one, that it's not safe to bet only on one company.
Just to summarize, like what happened during the weekend, what we're speaking about. On Friday, feel free to interrupt me at any time. Sam Altman got fired from OpenAI board, and immediately afterwards, Greg Brockman quit immediately. And then on Saturday, again, like top researchers from OpenAI quit. And by that, like the OpenAI team shows their support for Sam. And Sunday morning, Sam came back for a board meeting. It was a really interesting tweet. And the current new CEO of OpenAI is Emmett Shear, the former Twitch CEO. And on Sunday midnight, Sam and Greg joined Microsoft as CEO for AI research team, which is like a new division there. And the new CEO of OpenAI's plan is like 30 days, and it's like to slow down OpenAI and to go a little bit more into research.
Yeah.
As far as I understood, like the drama. What do you think is going to happen next? Like, do you think Microsoft have something right around the core, are preparing something?
I still think that the Microsoft division is a plan B. So, like said, 95% of OpenAI employees, they have indicated that they will leave the company if they don't bring Sam and Greg back, including this Ilya Sutskever, their head scientist, who was kind of behind, also part of the board and making the decisions to kind of fire Sam in there. So I would assume that there is no OpenAI without Sam and Greg and 95% of their company, including the head scientist. So I don't think that it's either OpenAI as a company and organization goes down totally, or then they will just re-establish and fire the board and establish something new in there. So that's still kind of my guess in there what will happen. But if not, then they will somehow go to Microsoft and they will sort of ingest whatever there is in OpenAI and be kind of continuing from there. But it would be quite surprising.
Yeah, as far as I remember, I read today's morning that there are more than 700 employees that threatened from resignation. So it was like, for me, it was unimaginable. What do you think led to this situation? I mean, like some being fired.
My original thinking was that they kind of disagreed the sort of commercial aspects on how to bring this AI to the public. So that was my assumption, that somehow their head scientist Ilya and the rest of the board, they would like to concentrate on building the AI and the foundational models and everything else, and not doing this marketplace stuff and so on, which kind of it is a sidetrack in developing the AI itself. So and then of course kind of not bringing things out so fast and thinking more about the safety and security of the systems. So that was my assumption. And nobody knows. Even the OpenAI employees, they haven't received any explanation for why they came up with the decision like this.
It felt like it was an April Fool's Day.
Yeah,
Like,
it did. Yeah.
yeah. And how is, like, more general question? How is AI transforming like industries and like business models also? Like, as far as I read like a statistic that it right now more than 5% of businesses are using AI. And where do you see that? I assume that the number will increase like
Yeah.
significantly.
I think in overall, there won't be a single operation in a businesses currently that isn't somehow affected. Of course, we are still there, not yet. Like we still need to make sure that the AI is safe to deploy on these different operations, and then also being able to find out the optimal use cases and processes on how to ensure that the AI is functioning properly, and it's yeah, there's a lot of risk currently which is preventing the usage of AI. But in overall, let's take a year or two. So most of the problems have been solved by then, and I think that in the end it will replace most of the current systems we have, unless they are kind of changing their products in that way that they are utilizing the AI natively in there. But I think slowly it's going everywhere.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's a matter of time. I was going to ask if you have like any advices for future entrepreneurs, like young people.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, based on your experience?
Yeah, let's say that comparing my first company and what we currently do at Lastbot, it's totally two different things. In the sense that back then there was no information in overall available about what is it to build up a startup company. Now there is a much more public information available. People have been studying startups and kind of also documenting on how to build up a successful startup. But those kind of instructions, they didn't exist like 15 years ago when I started the first time. But in that sense, it's like the first 5 years of running the own company. It was really like exploring, failing, succeeding in some way. But in overall, it was a really hectic and the difficult time in a sense. Today, we know what we are doing. And I said, like, we have a really experienced co-founders. Back then, they were either my old colleagues or actually my brother was there as well with me. And nobody had a experience on doing a company. So now we have really experienced people that have been building companies and businesses for 20 years already. So in that sense, it's much easier, especially personally for me, as I don't have to run everything myself and make the decisions. But yeah, regarding the 2 or 3 tips I would give to young startup entrepreneurs. First of thing, of course, like I would say it is this fail fast meaning, but in overall, I think that how to fail fast is to move fast. So in that sense, what we are really battling in the startups is the kind of a force of nature called things tend to slow down. You are stuck on certain things. you don't, you are afraid of making decisions, so you kind of you continue discussing with clients, doing solutions, trying to find a optimal sort of, whether it's this minimal viable product or product market fit, whatever we call it. So in that sense, you need to be fast in there, and you need to reinvent yourself quite often. So that's like what we did with Tero when we brought in these new co-founders this autumn. We thought that together we are kind of even though we did that only for a couple of months, we were running in circle, kind of solving same things in week after week. And that's when we thought we need to bring in somebody new who can bring this forward into another level. And you need to do this kind of decisions like monthly or bi-monthly at least, so that you always go forward. You don't get stuck in a way you are doing things and progressing things. So I think that's also one of the learnings from that Sam Altman is always telling in his lessons to startups, that do progress fast. Speed matters really much. So that's probably the most important thing that will bring you forward faster and being able to find out the product market fit quite fast. The other things I could mention is of course, the importance of team. Like I said, we did rebuild our team and way of operations, and you need to find out a culture in your company. And that's good for everybody in a team, and all the team members, they should be kind of working on their own perspective, of course, but towards a common goal. So the team and the culture and let's say the vision, where do you want to bring into company? What do you want to be? It helps out in making the decisions when you have thought out that what do you want to be like. We have decided that we will be this. We are really strict on, of course, inventing something new, inventing value. We don't want to publish anything that's not kind of really transforming. So that's why we have been delaying our products all the time, because when we come out, we want that the customers and all the public, they will see that how transforming this technology and solution is. So that's one thing. So yeah, we have chosen that we have not brought anything out that's not extraordinary. And then of course this everything in a safety and this kind of ethics of a company, that we still think that like I said, the public is really, even like there are lots of fears about the AI and so on, and that's usually comes in a form that how the AI is seen, that is it something that's always following you everywhere, trying to find out new things from you, spying on you, trying to cheat you some way. So those are the biggest fears. We want to make sure that everything we do is ethical, in a sense that the people will see that this AI is working for good purposes. So that's also a kind of a guideline that we have been following, though. So we don't pick any customer cases that go against this.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. Just to summarize it, like I noted like fail fast and fail cheap, and then the importance of team, which I totally agree on both of these statements. Do you mind sharing any like failure story from your experience, like a moment where you learned um, a valuable lesson, like regarding if it was like your corporate job or like your previous startup experience? Was there any like aha moment where it was like,
There's a lots of them, but usually they are related to the things I mentioned, like the making wrong decisions based on, for example, wrong reasons.
okay.
So like if we choose only like a financial reasons that okay, now we want to get the money out of this deal, which is of course important in a startup, that you have to have the money in order to prosper. But if you make decisions based on money, they are really kind of, and then you are still tying your own time and expertise and everything else on wrong things, and then it's a wrong decision. And usually they have been like this one. So I have been choosing a path that I shouldn't have based on money only. That's the and there are several of those things. There are not one big thing,
Okay.
but all of these things that actually, for example, how they led into failure the first time, having the bankruptcy in the first company, and then so it was kind of a lack of this your own vision and lack of kind of your own values that you want to follow up in your company. So that's the sort of biggest thing, and the failures as well. And of course, there's lots of other things like technical failures, meaning that you have failed on something and you have lost your backups. I've been seen them all, but I don't see them. They feel really big at the time, but they are really small things in the end. So they are not the ones that you remember. You remember the ones that affect your co-workers or people among you. So those are at least I feel failure when there are more people affected. The material things, they are not that important.
Understandable. How big was the previous startup that you're referring to? That
We didn't get that far in the first startup I had. Okay, we had like a 5-year run, and we did a couple of pivots during that one, and we did work we had an international company working in several countries. Of course, mainly Finland and Sweden, but still, yeah, like money-wise, I think we raised something like 1.5 million for that one. But I think at best we got somewhere in like a few hundreds of thousands euros of revenue. So it wasn't that big, and that was the problem.
okay. Well, I assume that it was like a SaaS solution.
It was a SaaS solution, like it was an online marketplace platform mainly. Of course, pivoted different paths in there, but e-commerce and online marketplaces.
Okay. Another thing about investors, VCs. So let's say I'm part of like an AI agency, Scaleport AI, and we're looking for funding. What are the do's and don'ts regarding that?
Let's say that the finding investment, it's always difficult. It has been more difficult even for us right now, even though we do have all the bits and pieces together. I think that in order to find the investment, you have to understand the motivation of different kind of investors, that who should you aim for, because the VCs, they are looking for a certain kind of business and scalability in there, and how to protect this business so that it can become big. And then, of course, like angel investors, they are always looking from their own perspective. Many of them are making decisions that, okay, this is really impacting my field of expertise, so they want to participate the company because they want to be seeing that how this transforms something that they have been doing. So you should find the optimal investors based on your goals and so on. So I think that's the thing. So if you don't have what they are after, and then it's not worth discussing. It's waste of time. So you should concentrate on the actual target group of your.
Or is it like
It's all.
integrated more into the client system?
We are also agnostic on the way our product communicates with the customers. So we work with the emails, we work with the phone, so we can kind of even have a voice conversation with our clients and so on. So in a sense, yeah,
So it's like quite comprehensive.
it is comprehensive, like how you usually start out the customer conversations might be through email or marketing or whatever. So we kind of we have our channels in there. Of course, then when they come to the site, then it's usually chatbots or emails also in that stage. And that once we go forward, it kind of it changes a bit on how they communicate and what are the channels there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because yeah, I haven't seen solutions that combine like everything, emails and chatbots and
Yeah, and those are actually quite easy. So that's not the big thing for any company to solve, is how to discuss with the client. And the thing is to, and what we solve is to like what do we discuss and what is the, how do we make an impact on there. So that's the kind of core of the, even though it's, yeah, chatbot is really important.
What were we discussing?
yeah, about the strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, like is it the chatbot versus the other channels of the communication and so on. So we were.
Yeah, and as I understand, you can like connect to the data of the clients, and so do you can like get the like customer data from CRM, and this is how you craft those messages for the emails.
Yeah, we can learn from many sources. CRM can be one of them. Of course, like any documentation they have about the product and services and their web pages and so on. So we can ingest all of that one and being able to adapt well.
Do you use like vector databases to store?
Yeah, that's one thing we use. We also have this structured data, which those are some of the things that actually differentiate us with the many others. So we read in images, we read tables, we read kind of a financial information and so on. So it's not just a sort of semantic data.
Yeah.
We're recording, right? Okay. I was a bit worried as like there on the stop button behind you, there like the time is not ticking, but I assume we're recording.
It's ticking here.
Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, I was going to ask, how important do you think is like mentorship or like coaching for startups, and not only like, do you have like someone that you're like referring to when you're like facing a difficulty, or like not even like if it's about a difficulty, just like on a regular basis, like once a week, once a month, like?
I think it's really important that you find out whether it's a mentor or some kind of a peer where you can discuss your feelings, kind of discuss also the decisions you have to make and so on. So I think it's really important. In this first company I had, it was actually coming from our accelerator company, Gorilla. Gorilla Capital, they are called now. So
Okay.
back then, Risto Rautakorpi was sort of. I felt he was my co-founder as he was helping me in thinking and making these decisions, everything else, and teaching me how to sell to international audience and so on. So it's really important. In the second company, which was a consulting company, I was basically, it was just me as an entrepreneur. I had colleagues back then and who were also kind of owning part of the company, but I was the only one sort of responsible on the company and the decisions and everything else. So it felt really lonely, and that's why I kind of I wanted to sell that company and build something else than because loneliness is really bad thing for entrepreneurs.
Agree on that. I was going to ask, do you know of any like startups that are utilizing AI and like are based in Oulu or around Oulu? Maybe besides Vuo, is it like Vuo AI?
Vuo, yeah, Vuo AI is of course one of them, and they are really great company that you need to follow. They are not communicating that much yet, but what I've heard from their technology and everything else that my namesake Pasi Jokinen is telling about it's gonna be huge.
Okay.
I'm really excited to see where they get and whether we can cooperate with them. Otherwise, there are no AI startups or like at least the ones that are a bit further. I haven't heard any other in Oulu currently. Of course, there's a lots of this consulting and everything else like that's we have a silo AI people in there. My brother is running this Brightly company who is concentrating on data and AI consulting and so.
What is the name of the company?
Brightly,
Brightly. Okay.
yeah. So they have grown quite a lot recently, but they are purely doing consulting, but they are great in that one. Especially, of course, they're more concentrating on the data analytics and that kind of things, but also doing machine learning and AI as well.
Okay. What skills do you think are needed like for future leaders in order to effectively leverage AI technologies? As like the moral compass, I assume is like one of them, and I don't consider this as a skill. Instead, because like the possibilities with AI are unimaginable.
Yeah.
So
I think that the most important thing is to be curious.
okay.
So kind of face this kind of AI in a curious way, so that you want to explore on how it could actually change things and improve your processes or whatever in your company, and find out that information from various sources. You can do that thinking your own, or you can talk with people who do this for a living. I think currently that's the most important thing. Be curious and to find out what the AI could do. Don't jump in too fast. Be careful in a sense that you have to pick out the right players, because there's like in every shift, there's a lots of people who want to do this for money only. So this consulting stuff, which is actually now growing quite a lot. So when I started like last spring, I was the only one in my sort of field talking about the AI and going to speak about it. Now my network is full of these AI specialists who are helping companies to pick up the AI and marketing, but not all of them really understand AI, have the competence to guide. But this is just a fact that every time when something new big comes, there will be a lots of people who want to be part of it, and I don't like it, but it's just how it goes.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share like any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about?
Uh, let's say that of course we are excited on our product launch.
Yeah.
So we are really interested to see what kind of companies and people are interested on
Is
our.
there a date specific one? Because you said like that is going to be this
During
year.
this year,
Okay.
yeah, like I said, I have just finished one really cool thing. So being able to this customer onboarding. So we had this vision that only with your business email we can establish the whole AI for you.
Oh.
So currently we are able to kind of read out the, of course, all the brand data with including the colors and fonts and tone of voices and that kind of things. But then being able to ingest all the data, being able to construct you a automatic sales process that's actually customized for your company and so on. So we want to be there that in 5 minutes with your business email, you get a fully customized bot for your business. And that seems to be working right now. And I'm really
Okay.
excited to bring that out
I
quite
want to
soon.
test it out. It
Yeah.
sounds good.
So, and of course, kind of we are still starting out the conversations in US side. So far, we have been mostly talking with the Nordic companies in Finland and Sweden. But we have some big clients talks coming in the US side, like really tier one companies that we want to establish some sort of relationship with them. And we have one really great and experienced like a salesperson joining us, or actually he has already joined, but we haven't published it yet.
Okay.
But he has been kind of there are really big companies that we are aiming in there, so that's really interesting to see that who can we actually hook in there.
A quick question that comes into my mind. How you ended up with the pricing system? If it's not a secret, like do you mind sharing a bit more?
We haven't come up with the final pricing
Okay.
yet, so that's the truth. I think that we want to be as value based as possible,
Okay.
meaning that in the end we would like to sell the outcome. So when you profit, when you are saving costs, then our costs or the price is based on that one. So that's our final goal. But so far it's really hard to estimate how it will go. So we are based on the more like the price per conversation or that kind of things, which is a transactional value, but still it kind of it's today it's easy, and still the company is there only paying on mainly what they use. So it's in that sense something a bit new compared to our competition.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Any book recommendations? I'm interested, like if you have like, what's your favorite book?
I have to admit, especially in AI, the books they come always like late. So I haven't been reading many books like last year. So I mainly ingest my knowledge from different white papers and speeches and of course podcasts as well. So I'm a really heavy user of podcasts.
I'm open to
Of course,
suggestions.
you probably know them, the Lex Fridman, and
Yeah.
those are really great, and they are really so nice conversations in there.
Anything more niche, more specific?
I don't have a one exact.
Okay.
I could actually tell. As I said, I pick certain topics on like a. Of course, in Finland there are a few of these podcasts that like this Kari Angeri is running this I think it's viimeinen ihminen, like the last human. I was kind of participating his podcast
Okay.
also in the summer. So
Is it in Finnish?
it's in Finnish, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah,
Another day.
yeah. But yeah, I have to think of that what else could be there. But in overall, let's say that my favorite books and when I read about theory, it's not about practical things. It's about like more like a mental things. So I would like to understand the human psychology and, for example, the kind of things that lead to a success and the how do you sort of treat people well so that it's beneficial for both. So I'm really interested in that kind of things personally, and I ingest a lot of data from there. So in the past, before this year, I was reading quite a lot of those business books and that were more concentrating on the psychology side.
Thanks for sharing. And any events that are happening in Oulu or like in Finland in general, like in the upcoming weeks, as I find it difficult like to find events right now. So
let's say that during this year, I think in Oulu we have a few meetups coming. So at least there's Arctic AI breakfast coming in I think it was somewhere early December.
okay.
Of course, the biggest event, which everybody is waiting, is the next week, the Slash Helsinki event. So I'm really kind of looking forward to participate there and having the discussion with the various companies and so on. So I think this Slash is a reason why there isn't much space for any other events, because everybody's preparing for that one and concentrating there.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to pitch at that
Side event, yeah.
side event, yes, Slush community side event, yeah.
Yeah.
Business. So okay. And this is on the 29th or 30th? 29th of November.
Yeah.
Okay, at 6. Okay.
Yeah, next week, Wednesday. So I will be pitching there.
Great.
3 minutes only, but yeah, that's I have been pitching quite a lot last, but let's say 3 minutes is the kind of a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But let's see, I think I can make it.
Crossing fingers.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Nick?
I was actually curious because you mentioned you work with the Finnish and Swedish companies.
Yeah.
And so basically your AI works in different languages quite well. Like,
yeah.
the Nordic ones. And did you get any like challenges with like for example giving answers in Finnish versus in English of those AI systems, or are you using like GPT-4, which is like quite good at?
We are using these language models to do the translation, and all of the data we ingest is translated to English. So we use that as a base language, and then we kind of have the AI to talk with the client in their own language. So it's but yeah, it's let's say that all the languages, they have a bit different semantic meanings when you talk about sentences or words. So you cannot exactly compare like a Finnish word to a English word. So that's why we decided that all the materials, we are actually translating that in English when we ingest the data. But yeah, it's of course like one of the big strengths of the language models is that you are able to discuss in any language. So it's a no-brainer for us to have it from the beginning.
But is there like any latency? Do you like translate it on the fly, or is it basically all the data is in English, but you serve the customer in like in a local language?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we serve them in a local language. So whatever, we always like recognize the language that the client is speaking, and we answer in that one, no matter what is the original language and so on.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share, or like that I haven't asked you and you were kind of thinking about?
Not really. So yeah, it's a really exciting area. I think that there could be topics we could talk like a
Okay.
whole day, but in overall, I think we have touched most of the things really important for Lastbot right now.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and yeah, we can call it a day.
Thank you.
Stop. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. It was pleasure.
Thank you.